Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, the other way, let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, everything that I say in these reaction videos is completely speculative based on very little information that the show deems to show us and the cast members deem to show the cameras. So keep that in mind. Let's watch.
And I think it should be very civil, and you should, if you're going to stay together...
I'm going to be very nice to him. I'm not going to yell at him, but I've already been nice to him. I've given him my best face forward. Even today, he doesn't want to pick up the phone. You know, I mean, what can I do? I mean, I'm trying the best I can. He literally just does not pick up the phone.
Okay, so we're hearing from Ari that Biniyam, is still not picking up the phone. And I've seen this before. I've been saying this from the beginning. I don't know if this is the case, but I've worked with a lot of couples where there is one member of the couple who is avoidant, meaning that due to early childhood experiences, when they feel attachment threat, meaning that they perceive that their attachments are either going to harm them or reject them, they avoid, they run. They, you got fight, flight, freeze, appease, and they will flight. It's terrifying to them and kind of humiliating to them to offer up their vulnerability and say, hey, could you please not do that to me? Because they learned early in life that wasn't received well. My hypothesis, the only hypothesis I have based on the very little information that the show has provided with us, is that the son, Biniyam, when he was 7, the parents died. And so it's, Andy I think he had a number of siblings. So I think those two things compounded. When you have a lot of siblings, the parents sometimes don't have time to attune to every child enough. That can happen. Not always. It depends on the lifestyle of the parents and the ability of the parents. But particularly because the parents died as a child, then you transfer all your attunement needs to your older siblings usually. And if your older siblings are struggling themselves and don't have time, which why would they, to fully attune to you as a 7-year-old, then you're going to be challenged with not enough attunement. And so you have to cope with that somehow. And one of the ways to cope with it is to give up, to just be like, I can't depend on other people. Why try? I give up. When there are questions, just run, just avoid, because things go better. Who knows? But imagine a young 7-year-old boy, parents are dead. The 7-year-old boy turns to his older siblings, and he's like, he wants to play, he's bored, or he's hungry, or he wants to cuddle with someone, and he approaches, and his teenage sisters are busy with their own stuff, and they're just like, get out of my, leave, get out of my room. You're constantly in my space all the time. And as a 7-year-old, you're in this spot where you're thinking, okay, I just offered up my needs, and attuned parents would have hopefully noticed that and been there for me. But I just offered up I approached, I provided a bid for attention and attunement, and just got, emotionally slapped in the face. So, neurologically, how do I cope? What am I learning here? Well, I'm learning that my emotions are dangerous because when I feel them and express them, I feel pain. I'm learning that other people can't be depended on. And so one of the ways that the experimentation might occur with a young person is, okay, I'm just gonna ask again, please, beg, and if that doesn't work, then you're just learning more. Or you learn, hey, if I move, I'm being rejected, but I have a need, and if I continue to try to bid further, and it actually makes matters worse. The older siblings might look at you and say, okay, if you keep asking me to do this, like, we're done for the next month. And then the older siblings proceed to punish the 7-year-old for a month of emotional neglect. So the child learn, and this is kind of a stark example, but this happens, whether it's explicit or not. And the lesson you're learning is, when you bid and it doesn't go well, do not bid again, because it'll just make matters worse. 1, you're going to be hurt even further, but 2, you might even just push someone away even further or cause even more neglect to happen. So as soon as there is an indication, run. because you're actually preserving the relationship by running. That's if a lot of y'all out there I know are married or involved or had relationships with avoidant people, and you're very frustrated with them. But the reason why avoidant people avoid is because they're actually trying to preserve the relationship. That's why people avoid. Preoccupied people, it's much more obvious as to why they would do it, because they're trying to pull the person in. It's very obvious. They're often insulting the other person or accusing the other person, but it seems kind of obvious that they're trying to pull the other person. The avoidant person is very much misunderstood. It's very much seen as like, well, they don't care, they're a robot. No, they deeply, deeply care. And their way of preserving a relationship and preserving closeness is through avoidance, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But of course, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be preoccupied and demanding and accusatory, because that's not going to help with attachment, right? So, all the insecure attachment behaviors are ultimately not helpful. They were helpful in the past, though. They did help in the past. They were relevant in the past. They did match the circumstances of the past. They often do not match the circumstances of the present. So for Biniyam, it's possible that right now he's in a mode where, as she calls, he neurologically, one, is trying to preserve the relationship by avoiding, because he's thinking, well, if I just avoid, she'll calm down. And if I engage, it'll just be a fight, because that's always what happens. So it's better if I don't engage, The other thing is a fear of being attacked, right? The other thing is a passive aggression of, I'm not going to respond because I want you to understand how much of a jerk face you are, because it's my only way of communicating my needs is through avoidance. That's another thing to think about if you're involved with an avoidant person. As they avoid, they're dysfunctionally trying to communicate something to you. They're trying to say like, hey, please do this or don't do that, which is, all relationship communication is basically saying. But the avoidant person, because they're terrified of vulnerability, they can't say it directly. And so they have they're a one-trick pony. They communicate everything through avoidance. They communicate, I want you to love me more. I'm worried that you don't love me. You hurt my feelings last time. I wish you would give me the benefit of the doubt. They're communicating those and 1,000 other things just by not answering the phone, which is not functional. So, but Ariela and Biniyam are in a dance. They're both playing their part to trigger the other person to be more avoidant and more preoccupied, I think.
በጣም የሚከብድህ መስሎኝ ነበረ ብቸኝነት የሚሰማ መስሎኝ ነበር
But then you stopped calling and you stopped texting and you would turn off your phone.
Okay, so they're having a conversation. Ari has brought a translator, which is interesting because my impression was that they communicate fluently enough in English, and having a translator there might just kind of trip things up a little bit. But sometimes there's some nuanced things that need to be, really spoken and understood in someone's native language. So maybe that will help. So she's starting off with what we'd imagine she would start off with, which is, I thought that when I left Ethiopia, that you would miss me and that you would stay connected to me. But that's not what she's saying. What she's saying is you turn off your phone. So if I was there, I'd be like, speak from how you feel. How did you feel? Because I'm guessing underneath it all, she felt alone. She felt abandoned. She felt hurt. She felt afraid. And speaking from those places is much more effective. I'm guessing a lot of you have already gotten that point because I've said it a billion times. And some of you have even emailed me or commented below saying that it really helps. And we almost never do this. And we certainly don't teach people to do this, or at least not usually. And the reason why this works is that it gets you in touch with the foundation of what you're experiencing. Instead of, because what happens is, I'm guessing for Ari, she was hurt that he turned off his phone. That really hurt her. It made her feel like he didn't care, that he didn't really love her, that he didn't really care about her. It felt that way to her. And obviously she doesn't want to be married to someone who doesn't have dedication and loyalty and love. Something in my eye. Power through, Kirk. And it was hurtful. And so to understand that and to offer that up usually provokes the other person to not feel accused, right? To be like, oh, well, I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings, but it was because of this or that. Instead of, you're a piece of crap because of this, and this, and this. That's what we, will end up in a place in our minds after we feel hurt and afraid. We feel hurt and afraid. Then we have these layers upon layers, and then what comes out of our face is, you're a piece of crap. Now, so two very different messages. When you didn't answer the phone, it hurt my feelings, and I was worried I was going to lose you. And I love you. I don't want to lose you. That's one message. That's the foundation. But you have to have knowledge of yourself and trust of the other to express that. The other message is, you're a piece of crap because you didn't answer your phone. Okay, which message will be received better than the other one? Let's see what happens.
You don't talk to me and you don't answer your phone and your phone is off.
Immediately we fighting, of course I will do that. Every time when you yell at me and then you're mean to me,
But
for
what about
the call
you?
any nice
What
to
have
me,
you done?
that's why I don't want to answer.
So they're right back in this. I don't imagine this is going to go well. And the translator is not needed at this point because they're just talking directly to each other, which I would recommend anyway. Maybe they should have got a therapist to help them instead of a translator. But anyway, or a therapist who could translate. Anyway, so he's saying, yeah, of course I turned off my phone. I didn't show this clip earlier, but he said, we talked every day. I answered the phone at least one time every day. You would call me frequently. And so he's saying, I turned off because you were mean to me and you would hurt my feelings. It doesn't justify it, but at least it's a little bit. So it's so frustrating, this couple, because from the beginning of me seeing them go down this road, I have been, seeing what I think to be a preoccupied avoidant match and triggering of each other. And it's so easy to fix. It's so easy. It's like a plumber watching some amateur destroy a sink on YouTube or something. It's like, I could do that for you. It could take me 3 seconds. I could fix that for you. This would take me 5 sessions max, maybe longer to really sustain it. But like this kind of problem, maybe 1 session, literally. Like, it's such a fundamental, easy thing. If they believed me, if they had if I could get them to a differentiated place, it's so easy to fix, for her to understand, when he's turning off his phone, it's not a malicious act. That's the only thing he knows how to do when he's hurt. That's what he does when he's hurt and afraid. When she's calling me and accusing me of things, that's because she's hurt and afraid. That's not what I thought. What I thought was she just wanted to control me. I thought she was this ugly American who feels entitled and she wants to control me. But now I know it's because she's hurt and afraid. It's a completely different mindset. And, here are 5 other things you could do besides turning off your phone, besides yelling at him and accusing him of things. But, I'll say it again. I've said it probably a dozen other times in various other videos. When you break an arm, you fall off your roof, you're, sweeping the leaves and you fall off your roof and you break your arm. You don't just walk in the house and go like, oh, woe's me, my arm hurts. And then like 3 months later, your arm is all effed up and you're like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with my arm. You go to the hospital, right? When you have a flat tire or your engine falls out, you don't just go, oh, well, I guess that's it. What are you going to do? You go to the auto mechanic. When you're hungry, you go to the grocery store. When you have, marital conflict, you go to a marriage therapist. You go to a couples therapist. I don't understand.
Because I don't want to fight. Just when you calm down, you can talk to me. But whatever.
But if you never pick up the phone, how would you know if I'm angry? And when I text you, I love you, baby, I miss you, and there's no answer.
So they're right back. They're both participating in the dance. She's being dominant and accusing him and being critical. And he's withdrawing. And they're both triggering each other. He has every right to be hurt and to want to withdraw and be like, why should I even engage? And she has every right to be, how come you hurt me like this all the time? What's going on with you? They both have the right to do that, but they're just triggering each other and causing each other's behavior. And I think I'm particularly, it's one thing if like Steven and Alina were having a fight like this, you'd be like, well, they're young, they'll recover. This is Biniyam's second marriage and second child that he will, for the second time, not be able to see for the rest of his life. And so I think that's what really amps it. And of course, you got a kid who needs both of his parents. And the chance that she's going to stay in Ethiopia post-divorce is pretty slim. I think she basically said that wouldn't happen. So I guess I'm just so worried for everyone involved.
Telling me, Bini, he's at the club. Bini, he's seen with different women. Bini, he has different people in and out of the house all of the time. Then, I'm not dumb. I can put things together when you don't pick up your phone, when you don't communicate, when you don't want to talk to your son. The picture becomes very clear.
So she said this from the beginning, and last week we heard that the sister reached out to her and said something, at least according to Ari, something bad is happening at that house with other women. I don't know. Of course, I can't know. But Biniyam doesn't seem like that sort of guy. But what do I know? So I guess I'd like to think, I hope, that it was just him having friends over, and some of them happen to be women. And she's making some assumptions there. Or he was cheating on her. Because if that's the case, so let's see what he says here. Maybe we'll get an indication as to what really happened.
Shame, just what are you think?
May I finish? People didn't just say to me, oh, there's people in and out of your house. That's not what they said. People have seen you with one or two particular women again and again. That is what people are saying.
No, you're wrong.
Okay, so she's saying that others were saying, is this like Darcy and Georgie, like a friend of a friend of a friend heard of a thing that happened? Who knows? It's certainly possible. He's saying, no, you're wrong. And, I'm guessing given his avoidant nature, seemingly avoidant nature, he's not going to. So when you are secure enough attached, when you're accused of something like this, there's a number of different things you have to hold on to at the same time. You have to have enough serenity to hold on to, and differentiation to hold on to a lot of things. One, you have to hold on to, wow, I'm being accused, like let's say that he's innocent. Wow, I'm being accused of something pretty extreme here. And so that hurts. Two, this is pretty dangerous. Like I have to convince her that that's wrong. Three, who are these people telling my wife that I'm cheating on my wife? I wasn't even cheating on my wife. This is if he wasn't cheating. Four, I might not ever see my kid again. Five, how do I empathize with her? If she's been hearing these things, like it must be really hard for her. Six, I care about her. I don't want her to feel, there's a lot of different things you have to hold on to at the same time. And when you are undifferentiated and have a lot of attachment anxiety, your anxiety will spike and you'll only be able to focus on a little bit of one thing. And I'm worried because we've seen in the past that for him, what he focuses on is self-protection or don't make a mistake. We have different responses to predators, and you'll see this in animals as well, and threats. You have fight, flight, freeze, appease, and faint. Sometimes we don't say faint, but sometimes we need to remind people that you can faint under fear. But, fight, flight. So for Ariela, she fights. Like she leans in and she's like, she's accusatory. When she feels attachment threat, she seems to fight. He seems to run. Another version of running is to freeze. It's another kind of avoidant thing. It's also kind of a disorganized thing, but you can freeze. It's like, oh no, don't do anything. Because if I do nothing, then maybe it'll just go away. Avoidant people can be like that. It can be very frustrating to the Arielas of the world. It's just like, hello, I just said a bunch of things. Do you have nothing to say to that? So I'm wondering if he's entering that zone. or he cheated and he's caught and he doesn't know what else to say.
ግን ይሄ ደግሞ እሷ ካለችበት ቦታ በርቀት ጭንቅላቷ በኢማጂን የምታስበው ነገር ነው። እኔ በጭራሽ ቺት አላረኩባትም። Me and Fraser, we open like studio and then we're working out there. If you have a studio there, so many people, they come in and then we're working there.
Okay, so according to him, he didn't cheat, and he's saying that we, opened up a studio in the house. And from the beginning, what I've been saying is, she left town and took the kid, and he's in Ethiopia. He didn't want her to leave, so remember, he was begging her not to leave. She left, which I think a lot of people would say, well, makes sense. And then while she's gone, he decides he's going to turn the house temporarily into a workspace for recording music and maybe a little bit of socializing as well. Maybe a lot of socializing. He has every right to do that. Now, if they had some agreement that he wasn't supposed to have friends over, as if he's a child, then okay, but I don't think they had that. So the fact that he turned it into a studio and a lot of people came over, and the other thing that I wonder about the two of them is a cultural difference around friends, a cultural difference around like home space. And I've noticed this. Actually, I noticed this in the Kenny and Armando storyline when they were talking about, it's a related thing. Like Armando was like, well, you understand that the wedding day, it's like an all-day thing. The reception is 10 hours long. As a Japanese American, that's what I come from. I come from family get-togethers that I didn't know this growing up, but compared to white Americans, is very, very long. Like we'll hang out at Wajimaya, which is a Seattle Japanese restaurant or a grocery store. It's a grocery store in Seattle called Wajimaya. I think it's actually up and down the West Coast. Anyway, and we'll just hang out there for 5 hours in the grocery store, in the deli, like 30 of us, family will come in from out of town. We'll just meet at Wajimaya. We'll just sit there and like snack and talk and laugh in the middle of a grocery store. There's a food court, but it's not like a food court. Anyway, point is that there are different cultures around that sort of thing. So when I heard Armando talk about this really long wedding reception, I was just like, yeah, I mean, that's the way you do it. Families coming in from out of town, and what's better than hanging out with your family for 12 hours? Other people don't feel that way. There's other cultures, and I think particularly white Americans, not all white Americans, but a lot of white Americans I've experienced this anecdotally. It's like, 12 hours with family? No. Another thing is Thanksgiving for my family. It's like from two, I bet you anything that if my family had their way, it would be like all 4 days of the weekend. You know what I mean? But like our spouses wouldn't go along with that. So, and we're night owls too. So we'll stay up till like 2 a.m. laughing. But so, it's fine. It's different cultures. I'll just say my culture's better. Just joking. So there's the difference, and that's fine. Kenny, he wants a 3-hour reception, which sounds boring to me, but fine. Everyone has their own thing. But for them, for Ari and Binny, I wonder if they have a cultural difference where for Biniyam, he comes from a culture or a family or whatever where, you invite people over and people are coming in and out of the house, that kind of thing. That's kind of the house that I grew up in. I grew up in a large family. There were 4 kids and all of us had lots of friends. We didn't even lock the front door. This kind of puts things, I always just marvel at this, that this is in the 70s in Sammamish, Washington, and we didn't even have a key. I never had a key to my own house because 1, there was always someone home. 2, we just didn't lock the front door. We would leave town for a week, wouldn't lock the front door because we just didn't worry about that kind of stuff. Anyway, point is, people were coming in. There was always just people just coming over. People would just show up. Friends would just show up, and that's kind of the environment I grew up in. Now, I will say, in my adult life, I'm not like that anymore, but I could adjust to it if that were happening. Anyway, point is that I wonder if this is a cultural difference. That for Ari, she's just like, why are you having all these people over? Whereas Biniyam's like, that's what I do, or that's what we in this town do. When there's things to do, you just come over. People are coming in and out, and some of them are men, some of them are women. It's fine. Like there's nothing nefarious happening. It's just normal socializing that's happening right now and working. Anyway, let me know what you think of that. Where are you on that spectrum from Kenny to Armando? Where are you?
Wrong way, just you change your mind, you're poison.
So in this past 2 months, you've made no mistakes.
For me? Yeah. I know your mind, you're thinking just
Not
to cheat.
just
I
about
didn't cheat
sex
on
with
you.
other people.
I didn't
What
cheat.
have you done to disrespect your family?
I don't want.
So I don't like her tone. It's not fair, I don't think. So he's saying, no, I did not cheat. And she seems to be believing him, I guess, because if he's lying about that, then you think you would really lay into him about that. Like, no, you have, like, or I don't know. What is she doing right here? But then she's like, she gets into this mode where she triangulates the son. She'll say, you're dishonoring Avi, when I think really what she wants to say is, you're hurting my feelings. And I feel hurt. I feel abandoned. I feel like you don't care about me. I think that's what but when we don't trust other people, we'll triangulate other people. So she's kind of heading into that. She has a tone of dominance and a tone of arrogance, really, which I don't think is going to go over well with him. I wish they would slow down. If I were there, I'd slow him down and be like, okay, one thing, let's just talk about the cheating, okay? Sounds like there's a number of issues on the table. One is having people over to the house, but really cheating, we got to really establish that. Now, maybe we wouldn't be able to resolve that because he's like, no. But maybe if he gave more information, it'd be like, who did you think I cheated with? Okay, that person is so-and-so's sister. I barely have ever even talked, maybe there's some elaboration. That's what I would probably try to go towards, because that can usually help. That's assuming that he didn't cheat, which I just have to believe. Who knows if he's cheating or not, but I guess I don't want to think that he cheated. Anyway, it seems to be escalating, which is stressing me out.
I don't want to fight. I came for fixing for my relationship.
The more I talk to Vinny, the more frustrated I'm getting. He is so defensive that he can't even admit that the way that he behaved overall was inexcusable.
So now, if he cheated, then yeah, that's inexcusable. But if he didn't cheat, what is she talking about? That he had friends over to his house? What's the inexcusable disrespect to their family? Now, who knows? We're not privy to what she was told. Maybe she was told there were orgies happening, whether Benny was involved or not. There were drugs. There were all sorts of things that were happening. And sometimes I wonder about that, because we watch the show and we think, well, when they're yelling at each other, they're gonna say everything. But let's say, for example, that drugs are involved, and for Ariela, she's concerned about that happening in the house and concerned about Biniyam and his friends abusing drugs. And maybe that's what she's saying when she's using the code of you're disrespecting the family. But she doesn't want to reveal, because she doesn't want to have it on camera, because she doesn't want him to be arrested. So she doesn't know what to say exactly, but she has all the emotions thereof. I'm just using that as an example for all the different things that we see, and wondering if we're really being told what the landscape is. Because if there were such a landscape, it certainly would explain Ariela's energy around this. But if there isn't such a landscape, then I don't understand where she's coming from, really. Unless he cheated, then I would understand. So I guess I'm just confused and in the dark.
Even if he didn't actually cheat. You are not ready? That's okay.
I'm ready. I want his family.
Okay, so then at the very end, she says, even if he didn't cheat, he absolutely disrespected our family. How? He had friends over. I must be missing something.
I want Abby to stay with me. I really love you so much.
I know he doesn't want to lose his family again, and I really don't want to cause him that pain. But at this point, I feel like he's left me with no choice. If he doesn't see that he's done something wrong, then there's nothing I can do.
I really wish we had a clear beat on what he did wrong, because she just said earlier, even if he didn't cheat, he did something terribly. What? He didn't answer the phone because you were yelling at him all day? I don't understand. Like, it doesn't excuse him being avoidant, but it just, being avoidant isn't a crime. You know what I mean? It's not like cheating. Anyway, I'm just very stressed out about this family.
Again. And, I know that you are. I know where you're at, and I feel really sorry for you, baby. I know your story, and it's so sad. And I feel sorry for you, and I feel sorry for Ami.
So, okay, good that she feels bad for him. It's just interesting. I just want to point out, it's interesting that everyone assumes, mainly Ariela, that if they split up, he might not ever see his kid again. Which I just, like, in a perfect world, if I could wave my magic wand, they, I guess, would all three of them move to the States and be divorced, or they would stay in Ethiopia and be divorced and live in the same town like other divorced couples do. But this idea of just like, look, unless you somehow fix this problem that may or may not even exist, you have zero power, Biniyam. You have nothing. You have no recourse. I have all the power. 100% of the power is with me. I can do whatever I want to with our kid and move wherever I want to. And there's literally nothing you can do about it. Like, that's pretty awful. Now, some people were commenting and saying, why in the world would Biniyam marry another American woman and get her pregnant when he already went through this problem? And okay, but I don't think that justifies a repeat of the problem anyway. So I'm confused. So what if he didn't cheat? If he cheated, okay. And because if he cheated, it sounds like it was multiple people, while your son is in the States getting surgery, it's just, wow. But if he didn't cheat, then I don't understand what was the problem. What happened? And if he didn't cheat, then she's just completely making something up in her head, some distortion, some transference from the past. Or she is undifferentiated because while they were apart, she felt hurt because he was asserting himself by saying, if you're going to talk to me that way, I'm not going to talk to you. And that felt very lack of control, or she couldn't do anything in that situation. It felt very scary to her. And so she's all flooded with those emotions. And they just landed in Kenya. And so maybe she's taking some time I don't know. I guess I'm just hoping that I'm hoping for two things. One is that he didn't do anything wrong, which I don't know. And two, that she will adjust. And I guess three, that the two of them will take care of each other. They're capable of doing it. They've been together a long time. And they're capable of either knowingly or unknowingly taking care of each other's attachment triggers.
Because I want Ami to grow up and have a man that's his father and he can respect. I'm very, very sorry for you and the life that you are going to have. I feel sorry for your situation.
All right, well, I want to thank everyone who has liked this video or other videos or subscribed, that sort of thing. It's super cool when you do that, and I appreciate it. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.